Welcome to the Collaborative Synergy podcast, where we bring together passionate, driven individuals to share their unique expertise, experience, and insight. I'm your host, Kathryn Coffman, founder of Collaborative Synergy Consulting. At Collaborative Synergy Consulting, we believe in the power of collaboration to achieve extraordinary results. Each episode, we'll dive into engaging conversations with industry experts, thought leaders, and change makers who are dedicated to making a difference. From project management and business analysis to leadership coaching and team building, our guests will share their knowledge, skills, and stories to inspire and empower you. Join us as we explore a variety of topics, learn from the best, and discover new ways to harness the power of collaboration. When we come together, we create a synergy that amplifies our strengths and propels us towards success. So let's connect, learn, and grow. Welcome to Collaborative Synergy Podcast. Welcome to the Collaborative Synergy Podcast. Today's guest is Kathryn Coffman from Fashionably Marketing. Kathryn, I'm so glad you're here with us. I want to tell the listeners how we first met. I first heard great things about you and your marketing expertise from some of my entrepreneur friends. And my daughter was exploring some different focus areas for her major in college. She'll be going away to college in the fall. So I wanted to find someone who could mentor her, and I thought you'd be a fantastic person to connect her with and to let her learn a little bit more about marketing as a potential path. I truly appreciate your willingness to do the informational interviews with her, and she had such wonderful things to say after meeting with you, which is what made me think you'd be an amazing guest for this podcast. I'm absolutely thrilled that you said yes, and I can't wait for you to share your insights with me and our listeners today about marketing for entrepreneurs. And since marketing isn't an area that I have a lot of expertise in, and it may not be something that our listeners are deeply familiar with, I'm hoping that you could start by sharing a little bit about yourself and about the marketing work you do at Fashionably Marketing.
Yes, thank you so much, Candria, for having me on and for your kind words. I loved your daughter, and I'm appreciative of you taking me onto this podcast. I'm super excited to be here. So my name is Kathryn Coffman. I'm the founder and the owner of Fashionably Marketing, which is a digital marketing agency based in Olympia, Washington, but serving clients wherever they happen to be in the U.S. I specialize in organic content marketing. So think like social media posts, blogs, email newsletters, or video and graphic content. So basically all the ways a small business can show up online without running paid ads. And I like to say I serve who I like to call heart-centered business owners, those who really value collaboration and realness. They appreciate the quantitative analytics that help guide our strategy, but they really find value in the qualitative results too. And then in addition to the content creation side of things, I also offer Squarespace website design for folks looking to launch either a new site with a new endeavor or to refresh and give a little facelift to their existing one. And I like to say that everything I do really ties back to helping clients feel seen, supported, confident, and really how they're showing up in the digital world.
You mentioned organic marketing, and I am not super familiar with marketing, especially not organic marketing. So I'm hoping that you can explain how is that different than paid marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like when people are interested in this question, I like to give them some real life examples. I'm a very visualizer person myself, and I think that's helpful here. So with paid marketing, let's say we have, a famous tech company that launches a smartphone. You can probably think of some off the top of your head. They run Facebook and Google ads to reach people who are interested in smartphones, these kind of devices. The ad then sends them to a website, a landing page, where they can quickly make a purchase. So ads are paid, and they immediately reach a large audience and drive these kind of quick sales. You may also see paid marketing when it comes to like print media, TV commercials, podcast spots, radio placements, and even billboards, all of which fall under this kind of traditional marketing umbrella, which is throwing another term in there. And then for organic marketing, this is different from paid marketing because it focuses on providing content of value or education plus entertainment, which I like to group into the popular term right now, edutainment, to generate this brand awareness and loyalty that really results in sales over time. So it strengthens relationships with existing customers while also creating interest in the brand for new people. So let's give an example of organic marketing as a coffee brand. So they brew their own coffee. They also might have physical storefronts. The coffee brand creates engagement engaging blog posts about, let's say, different coffee brewing techniques or different machines you can use, attracting the coffee enthusiasts who will discover the brand naturally. But they also encourage customers to leave reviews and subscribe to a monthly email newsletter. All of this boosts credibility, and it should hopefully help bring in more foot traffic to the physical storefronts. So I think both of these methods have their strengths in marketing. Organic marketing will build that long-term trust, while paid marketing will deliver quicker results. And I believe that really any business niche or type would be suitable with either approach. It just comes down to your goals and your vision. And I want to circle back to the content marketing phrase that I threw out there earlier. And I think sharing a direct Google definition is helpful here. So content marketing is a type of marketing that involves the creation and sharing of online material, such as videos, blog posts, and social media posts, that does not explicitly promote a brand, but is intended to stimulate interest in its products or services. So much of organic marketing is based on this concept of content marketing. And content marketing is really largely the direction that we see many small businesses headed. So the younger generations, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're demanding more authenticity from brands. They want to get to know there's a person behind the brand. And this makes getting away with those more flashy traditional marketing campaigns a little more difficult without a content marketing foundation. So that's probably a good overview we can start with.
That's super helpful. I'm interested in hearing a little more about the organic marketing part of it. And I'm wondering if you'll share what are the best platforms for organic marketing and how should a small business, maybe like mine, leverage organic marketing?
Yeah, that's a really good question too. So I like to say you don't have to be everywhere all at once, and you should dial into a specific strategy. So when I start taking on a new client, start working with someone new, the very first thing I look at is where is their audience actually spending their time. There's no point in like building out content for a platform where your ideal customer or client is not, present. So audience awareness is really step one. And then from there, we would tailor that strategy and pick the right platforms for them. So say like social media, there's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, TikTok, the list goes on. And organic marketing also goes beyond just social media. So I always recommend adding a blog feature to your website. It costs really nothing beyond the web hosting that you're already paying for. And it's one of the best long-term tools in your back pocket for really improving your SEO or search engine optimization. You've probably heard that phrase thrown out a bunch. And it improves it over time and keeps working for you once you make the blog post once. And then email marketing is the other key pillar here, whether that looks like a monthly newsletter or promotional updates. For my clients, we'll set them up on platforms like MailChimp or Constant Contact, two of my favorites, to keep their audiences informed and engaged over time. And the blogs and email lists, I feel like are often overlooked by people, but I really like to drive home the point that they're the only platforms you truly own. So if a social media platform disappeared tomorrow, say Meta went down tomorrow, knock on wood, hopefully that won't happen, you'll still have all the content you produce on these platforms and that connection with your people, and you own that email list and that website. So nothing goes down there. So my best advice would be to focus on your audience's needs when you're creating content for everything, blog, social, and email lists. What are they Googling at midnight? Like really ask yourself that. What questions do you get asked all the time? What are some FAQs that maybe you could make, more thought out blog posts on? And then build content around those pain points of your customers, and you'll start to build that trust and momentum.
So you mentioned a couple things that I am doing at my business, and I'm curious to get your input. As I started branching out and doing a little bit on the side just to kind of build that learning hub on my website and give people the opportunity to learn more about my business and also just learn in general, because I have learner as one of my top 5 strengths, and I love learning and I love sharing what I learned. I thought it would be fun to put a learning hub on my website. And then as part of that, I've added a blog and I've added the podcast that we're doing now as 2 ways that I can get information and share it with other people. And I love the conversations that have been happening with the podcast, so much so that maybe I haven't been investing as much in the blog as I need to. I'm curious though, from an organic marketing standpoint and a content marketing standpoint, both, do you think there's a set amount of time that is best for people to invest their time? How many posts should they do per month, for example?
Yeah, so I think different pieces of the content marketing puzzle have different cadences or frequencies. So I think for social media, because I want to point this out, this is very valuable. I feel like people are getting mixed messages and it's kind of changing over time. And for social media, you do not have to post every single day anymore. I know that was really pushed heavily back in the day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, it's about quality over quantity now. So I would say like 3 to 4 posts a week. You don't have to do more than that. Obviously, I really always encourage in the moment behind the scenes content. So when that comes up, if you go over your, 3 to 4 week, that's great, but don't push yourself and always try to make quality content. And then for email blast, it kind of depends if you're a service-based business owner or a product-based. I would say for product-based, you want to hit more of the once a week, but for services, it could be once a quarter or once a month. I usually do once a month as like a monthly newsletter. And then for blogging, I would say minimum once a month. I know it's a lot to do all of that content, but I do think that is a good cadence. Twice a month would be ideal, but right around 1 to 2 times a month.
That's helpful to think about and gives me some stretch goals. I try to go for once a month right now, but it's good. It's good to just get out there. And I think one of the things is it took me the first year of my business, I was looking into blogs, I was looking into podcasts, I was thinking about all the things that I wanted to do and how I could share some knowledge with people that I'm teaching at the colleges or just in general, people that are interested. And everything I read was it's not going to be perfect the first time. Just get out there and do something. Do
Just post it.
anything because continuous improvement is a real thing and you can get out there, do your best and keep making it better and eventually you're going to get to that place where you have something that you want to teach other people because it's going so well for you, hopefully, that you can share kind of this worked well and this didn't and here's my lessons learned and that's a good thing to share on blogs and on podcasts. So coming in the future, right? Maybe there'll be something about my lessons learned from being a new business and from trying to start my blog or start a podcast or whatever I feel like sharing. There's a lot of lessons learned anytime you start anything, but especially when you start a business, right? There's so much to learn.
Yes, and I feel like what you said too of just kind of that post paralysis, like don't wait until it's perfect. I'm definitely a perfectionistic person too, and so I'm very type A and I want everything to represent me well, but I feel like just post the thing. I even made a social media post to my followers about that recently. Just post it and it will improve over time, like you said. Yeah.
It was funny because all last year I read books, I watched videos, I joined different groups and got emails. I looked at other people's information and videos and blogs and just trying to understand, what am I getting myself into? What do I do here? And it was helpful. And I used a tool called Mural. Have you ever used Mural?
I've heard of it through one of my
And
clients also in project management, but I have not tried it yet.
I love Mural. I don't know what happened, but I watched this little informational video that they had and I was sold. I was so excited. I said to people I knew, I'm like, you've got to see this product. It was so good. And it was after going through COVID and not having that personal connection. And as a project manager, it's really weird to run projects where I've been doing it in person the whole time. And then suddenly I have no whiteboard and I have no meeting. And what happened to all those sticky notes that I love that I can't use? And Mural was the solution to that lack of security, I guess, that I would have had if I was doing it in person because I was comfortable with it. It gives you that virtual whiteboard with the sticky notes. Anyway, I'm a sticky note fan and I put together lots of Kanban boards and all of the fun tools out there that are for another podcast. But I went in there and I just listed all the different ideas I had for marketing, all the different ideas I had for my business. And I have different images that you can pull up from their tool. And then you can see these sticky notes. And so it's been really helpful to just on my own, even to organize my thoughts. And then as I've met with different groups and talked about working together on projects, we pulled up Mural and we use that as we meet virtually. And so it's been a really cool tool. Anyway, all that being said, I'm curious, what low cost marketing strategies would you say work best for early stage entrepreneurs like myself?
Yeah, well, that is a good thing to think about. I would say one of the most effective low-cost marketing strategies is just simply showing up consistently on all of these free platforms. So it means posting regularly on social media, writing blog content that's tailored to helping your audience, and then starting to build out that email list. Even if it's just a handful of people at first, I think, you got to start somewhere. And one of the most overlooked and totally free strategies that I always preach is engaging with other people's content. So make sure you're commenting on posts from other businesses, maybe in complementary fields, interact with potential customers or clients, and really show up in your local community, both online and offline, to kind of be a cheerleader for other people and getting your name out there. It's all about building those relationships, and think of engagement as a two-way street. Marketing isn't just about broadcasting, it's about really making that connection. So when I was just getting started, I will also throw out, this is kind of skewing away from the digital marketing element of things, but networking was one of my most powerful tools in my toolbox. Joining networking groups, attending local events, and connecting with other small business owners. Those conversations always open doors that no paid ad ever could, because it really generates that trust. I even ended up co-founding a networking group for women entrepreneurs together, and it was just such a rewarding experience. So I always say, don't underestimate the power of being that consistent and kind presence for other people.
I love that. That is super helpful. I feel like I could do more of the networking for sure. I don't think that comes naturally for me, even though I have Relator in my top 5 and I really like connecting. I'm much more comfortable connecting maybe one-on-one. But even as a teacher, you have a whole group of people there in front of you. I really try to make that one-on-one connection and find what's important to them in that class so that I can customize it and help them get whatever they're looking for out of that class. So I think it's a good reminder for me and probably others that you got to go out there and turn on maybe some of that woo in the Strength Finder. Woo, typically you're more comfortable with getting out there and meeting all these new people. That's not at the bottom of my strengths, but it's definitely not at the top either. So I have to really have some coffee and get a little bit more comfortable before I jump out there. I can do it. I just need to do more of it. So good reminder. And I also probably on social media could do more with engaging with other people's content. I think that's helpful to remind me and to encourage me to get out there and do a little more of that. I see you on social media a lot. You're posting stuff all the time. It's great. I was like, oh my goodness, look at how good she is at doing this. I get so busy doing a project or quality assurance or teaching that I see things, I like things all the time. I'm clicking the buttons and saying, oh, I like this. Occasionally I actually post though. I should probably do more of that.
Yeah, I
So
feel like for me, it's that I always post. You always see me doing stuff, but I just really struggle with practicing my biggest preach to everyone of engaging. I feel like I
yeah.
really fall short on that, and I really need to do more engagement myself. So you're not alone. Even like the experts who are telling you to do this also don't have time. It's like a whole full-time job just to run your social media. So
Yeah, I see people that are awesome at it. And I think about it, and I think they're so good at this. They're, you know, sharing other people's content, adding a little blurb, or they're even just putting a comment in there. And I need to do that. I need to do more of that. So good reminder. Thank you for that. So you also mentioned in networking, getting out there. And I can do better at that. One of the ways that I get out there, I guess now when I reflect and think about what I do is I do a lot of project management. I teach project management. I, do quality assurance for projects, that type of stuff. So I get out there by meeting with different groups, doing the classes at the local colleges, going maybe to the PMI, the Project Management Institute, local events that they have, which are really fun and great ways to meet people. But in one of the classes, I remember I was a guest speaker at this particular class, not teaching it. And I remember one of the students asked me, like, when you try to sell your product of project management, what makes you better than maybe another company that also does project management? Because there's a lot of project managers out there. And I felt comfortable with my answer, but I am, which was, like I just bring my authentic self, and hopefully that's what you're looking for, is somebody who's going to do their absolute best, that is certified in all these different things that I have training in, and hopefully we align and our values are similar, right? But if I'm not that person, then you should pick the other person. That's totally fine with me. That brings us to a question that I'd like to ask you. how do you differentiate a business in a saturated market? So kind of like project managers, there's a whole bunch of us. What makes one better than another? Or how do I show even that mine's better than maybe going with another company?
Yeah, totally. I love what you said about I'm just myself. And I do think that does just boil it down. And I feel like a lot of experts in my field talk about this thing called your secret sauce. And it's that special something that really sets you apart from your competition. And no matter how saturated your industry is or feels, I always like to say there's more than enough to go around. So the key is to build a brand that is so distinct, your ideal target market, your audience can recognize it and connect with it instantly. So some tangible ways to do this for our audience today would be to clarify your brand voice and your values. What do you stand for? How do you want people to feel when they interact with your brand? Maybe you're bold and edgy, or you're more soft and nurturing. Make sure that voice and those values are consistent across all of your content. And then lean into the storytelling. People don't just buy products or services, they buy people and stories. So share your why, your journey, and what makes you different behind the scenes. Also, don't be afraid to niche down. Don't try to speak to everyone. I feel like the more specific you are about who you serve and how you help, the more powerful that message becomes. Also, design does matter. A polished on-brand visual identity really helps. So consistent colors, fonts, otherwise known as typefaces, and photo style really helps you look professional and trustworthy. Even if you're just starting out, that's a very easy way to establish that identity. And then be consistently helpful. So like use content like we've talked about, blog posts, videos, email newsletters, social, to answer questions, solve problems, and offer value. It really builds credibility and it keeps your people coming back time and time again. But overall, I think people can copy your product or your service, but they can't replicate you. And that's really your superpower. So like you said, just being yourself.
Yeah, I've noticed that I'm not great at selling, right? That's not my thing, unless I'm super passionate about it. If I really believe in what I'm selling, that I can do it or that I'm the best person, it's going to show, right? If I don't, if I'm like, well, it's not really my thing, but yeah, kind of, it's not going to show. So everything you said is helpful and true and right along with what I said to them when I was answering their question and trying to help them understand that, I'm either the right fit or I'm not, and I accept that. And there's lots of people out there, and that's totally okay. Go with the one that you feel is aligned with your strategic plan and your values and has the right connection for you. And you'll be happy, hopefully, with your service. And the other person will be happy that they connected with you, and everybody will be better for it. So, how should a business approach customer retention? So, I get that connection, but how do I approach customer retention alongside acquisition?
That is a really great question. And I love answering this because I feel like that's the beauty of content marketing is you're not only attracting new customers, but you're also strengthening those relationships with the ones you already have. I think I mentioned that, alluded to that in the beginning. And it's easy to forget that I feel like it's much easier and more cost effective to keep your existing customers or clients engaged and happy than to constantly be chasing new ones, which is why I encourage all of my clients to use content that really speaks to and serves both groups at once. So for customer retention, specifically, think about those email newsletters. Keep your current customers in the loop with helpful tips and updates, behind the scenes content. And really the key is to make them feel like part of your inner circle. So maybe they're the people that you ask for advice and feedback from first, and also give them exclusive content that is not for the public eye. Then the educational content for the public eye, blog posts, videos, how-tos, they're great for continuing the conversation after a purchase. So you could even make a blog post teaching them how to get the most out of the product or service that they've purchased from you. Also, be sure to celebrate milestones, whether it's the customer's anniversary, birthday, or even just a thank you for sticking around message. A small gesture really goes a long way. And also community building, like I said before, engage with your audience in the comments, in direct messages, and even in real world events. I think the more they feel seen and heard, the more likely they are to stay loyal. I always say that I'm striving to help my clients nurture relationships with their most loyal people, who I like to call brand evangelists, who will shout your name from the rooftops. They'll tell all their friends and family about you, and they are your best free advertising. So really treat them right.
I was thinking about what you said about the people being your best advertising. And when I was first starting out, I was talking with a coach who had been coaching for a really long time. And I was trying to find out, how did she get into it and how did she market herself to people, because when you're new, everything's new, but when you're new, you're trying to figure out just how to get started, how to keep yourself busy enough to stay in business, right? And she echoed a lot of what you said, which was, a lot of her business came from people she knew. And it made me reflect on myself a bit, because before I started a business, that's not how my brain worked. I didn't think about it that way. But she's right that those connections really have helped over the last couple of years as I've been doing this. And I am so, so appreciative and loyal in general to the people that I know and the products that I use and the businesses that I work with. But I'm so grateful to the people that were able to reach out and say, hey, Kendra, you're a great person. And I've loved working with you in the past. I was wondering if you'd be interested, and gave me that opportunity to show them hey, I can do this. I'm here for you. And one thing that I think back to that conversation in the college with the person was, I will do my absolute best. That's just who I am. And people that know me will know that even though I'm going to put in more time probably than I'm going to bill, because I want them to get a quality product. And that's not a great practice. I know that I need to get better about being maybe more efficient with that. But it's true. You care about that person, you make that connection, that relator in me comes out, and it's a great way for you to meet new people too, right? Through the friends of the friends, and exactly how we met, right? Had a couple of friends and saw a couple of your products and made some connections, and then, hey, new buddy. So we were talking a lot about how important people are in marketing. There's a lot of talk about AI, and I'm curious, what's your perspective? How is AI changing digital marketing, and how can small businesses take advantage of that?
Oh, it's a tricky topic because I feel like there's so many valid and passionate perspectives out there for sure. It's all new. We're all trying to navigate this together. And I think it's important to first kind of touch on and acknowledge the major concerns. The ones I hear most often from clients is the fear of AI stealing from artists for visual stuff, and then also the environmental cost of using these technologies. So personally, touching on the first part there, the fear of AI stealing from artists, I personally don't use AI to generate any visual content yet. I played around with that little AI cartoon doll trend a little while ago, but that's about as far as I'll ever go. That's a boundary I've personally set for myself, though it might evolve as the tools do. I'm interested to see where they go. I do know some photographers who I work with who use it to clean up photos. Like maybe there's a, pile of random people in the back. They can just easily remove them out from the background, or say the beach didn't look as best as it could. They can add more water or more rocks, things like that. I think that's really helpful and it saves them so much time, but it shouldn't be your go-to for creating your marketing designs or an entire flyer. And not only because of these ethical concerns, but also because the tools small business owners have access to just aren't quite there yet in terms of quality and polish. You're going to get some really weird stuff. And I know I've heard from colleagues who are like, yeah, this employee just sent me this random thing, and it was everyone's teeth was all messed up, and they looked gray, and it was awful. It's that's kind of what we have with tools like ChatGPT right now. And then that's what I do. I use tools that incorporate AI. So Descript for video editing, that platform is a total game changer in my opinion. It can clean up filler words, it can generate captions for you automatically, and you can just tell it to create amazing highlight clips for social media, little bite-sized clips, which saves so much time. So it's great for podcasters like you. And I feel like most of us aren't working with these top of the line AI tech tools that major corporations might be able to get their hands on. We're using things like ChatGPT, like I said, to brainstorm content, maybe refine messaging, spark new ideas, all of that. Let's touch on the environmental impacts as well. I feel like it's really a personal decision. We have to kind of also acknowledge that so much of our tech has a footprint. And I wanted to kind of cite a study from researchers at Purdue University that they found that 1 hour on a Zoom video call, when you have your camera turned on, it emits 150 to 1,000 grams of carbon dioxide. And for comparison, a gallon of gasoline burned in a car emits about 8,887 grams. So it's pretty quick if you're doing Zoom calls all day, like most of us are. And so the question really becomes how much and how mindfully are we using these tools? I think that AI does have an important place in the future of marketing. especially for small businesses. It's not about replacing our human creativity or people. It's about working smarter, not harder. So I always say if AI can help me reword something into a more engaging way or come up with ideas faster, help me reduce decision fatigue, it's worth considering. But like I said before, ultimately, I think I would encourage every business owner to set their own boundaries with AI and really use it in ways that feel most aligned with their values and the purpose of their work. But I will say a little sidebar here of I firmly believe that the people like myself in the marketing field who like just ignore entirely and don't find ways to incorporate it will likely fall behind as the landscape evolves. And same goes for small business owners. I do think to an extent, you do have to cherry pick and still use some of the tools that are coming out because that is the future of the world.
Thank you for sharing your perspective. I know that's one of those subjects that are kind of hard and everybody has an opinion. So I appreciate you sharing your opinion with us and study that you referenced. So we're going to move away from the small business and move a little bit towards the larger companies in the next question. How do marketing strategies evolve as a business grows from a small startup to a larger company?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like as a business grows, its marketing strategy naturally evolves, and it should, honestly. Like with more resources and a bigger budget, you gain access to tools and to talent that can really take your efforts to the next level. I feel like at the startup stage, a lot of marketing is pretty DIY, but once a business has more capacity, that's when you can layer things in, like the paid ads to complement all of its organic content. Maybe you run some, meta paid ads on social media, professional photography and videography that can elevate your visual storytelling, graphic design support for branded polish across platforms, and SEO experts who can really fine tune your website so you're not just online, but you're actually ranking. So for example, I have a client in mind too. I've worked with a client in the trades industry for nearly a decade now, and it's been so exciting and rewarding to witness their growth. So we started with just, a couple blog posts a month, social media posts every day back in 2018 when that was a thing to do, and a monthly email newsletter. And these days we do regular professional photo shoots quarterly. We have ongoing SEO optimization through a dedicated expert, and that's all he does. We sponsor a lot of like local events too. We also do print advertising in local publications. So say it is, you're sponsoring an event and you have your logo there. It's easy to like buy certain chunks of a page and something. I think print advertising is always nice, even though newspapers are kind of falling behind these days, but it's still very much around. And I think, the older generation definitely still values that. Or things like that. We do print advertising. And then also billboard placements are our newest endeavor, which is very exciting. It's cool as like a person who works with them to see my client's name when I drive by. And then we also do some paid meta ads through Facebook and Instagram. So really all of that supports our consistent foundation of this organic social media content, 2 blog posts a month and a monthly email newsletter. So it's been really incredible to see how that strategy has matured. These more humble beginnings to a more like full-fledged multi-channel machine, honestly. And growth really allows you to do more and to reach more. And I feel like to connect in deeper ways. So it doesn't mean abandoning what worked early on. It just means refining and scaling what works best.
Love the idea of refining and scaling because it reminds me when you're starting out, it's okay that you're not doing everything. And eventually, hopefully, you'll be successful and you'll just add and get better and it will grow with you. And I look forward to that in the future. So thank you for reminding me that I don't have to do it all right now as a small business. And I have loved, just like you, watching some of my peer group that has jumped into business entrepreneurship sooner than I did, grow and turn into these wonderful companies that are wonderful to work with and just really good people. I was thinking about what you said with print advertising. And you're right. I do think that the older generation still values that, but I don't consider myself the older generation. I still value it. I still really love when I get things in the mail from different groups. I remember there was one group that sent me like a little mini calendar that has like their logo and their business. And then it had like whatever year calendar reference. And it was a magnet that you could stick, on a whiteboard or at your office. I just loved that idea. And I was like, that was such a great little marketing tool. I left it up all year. I looked at it all the time and thought of them every time I looked at it. I was thinking, I really need one of those. That's what I need
I
to
love
add.
that. I also love holiday cards. Like I get like
Oh,
my
yeah.
pest management people, my pest control people, they send me a really cute card with them all in their like ugly holiday sweaters. And then they, send it out to everyone and I put it in my fridge.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it every single day. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just those nice little extra touches.
I think that relator in me again, it just makes me feel connected to that group, right?
Yeah.
And as a mother, when you do various activities with your kids and you make those connections and then they get cards and you're showing them, and it just helps you feel like that's part of your circle, that's part of your group. And so I am guilty of brand loyalty totally, in the sense that, once I make that connection, it's really hard for me to let go. My husband would tell you that, but I have so many times stayed with a company just because I had, even when I didn't need to talk to them very often, there was still that connection, whether it was a birthday card or a holiday card or a calendar magnet, silly things. But it just made me feel like, oh yeah, that's my group. That's my people. That's, I'm connected with them. So definitely a good reminder for businesses to think about that connection and that paper copy, not just the social electronic tools that we have out there. As we're thinking about the different marketing techniques and tools, I'm curious, what type of marketing skills should every entrepreneur develop?
Okay, so I would say there are a few core marketing skills that I think every entrepreneur, no matter the industry, the niche, they should build, even if they eventually outsource them. So I think it's still good to have these skills. I would say number one is understanding your audience. I think this is the foundational thing. I know I drove it home in this whole podcast, but you need to know who you're talking to, what they care about, what keeps them up at night, and how your product or service is going to make their life better or solve this pain point. If you don't know your audience, no strategy that you ever implement will stick. Number two is storytelling. People connect with stories, not sales pitches. So learn how to share your journey, your values, and even your behind the scenes moments. And that will make your brand relatable. And that's what builds trust over time. Number three is writing and messaging. So you don't need to be a professional copywriter, but being able to clearly communicate what you do and why it should matter to them is huge. Whether it's social media captions, the email blast, or your website homepage, your words should sound like you, be consistent throughout, and speak directly to your people. Number four is basic content creation. So you don't need a ring light and those crazy little digi mics and a full production setup. Knowing how to create like a simple graphic in Canva. Canva is an amazing tool. I love it. Record a real video for social media or repurpose a blog post for Instagram. It really helps you stay nimble and very consistent. Number five would be comfort with experimentation. I would always say marketing is not a one size fits all. It's all about trying things, tracking what works, and adjusting. You really have to be okay with testing and tweaking as you go, using both that quantitative and qualitative result to guide your process. One thing that works for someone else might not work for you. And I would say, even if you eventually hire someone to handle your marketing like myself, these foundational skills will make you more empowered and informed as the business owner. I feel like when my clients know these things, they're better equipped to collaborate with me, stay true to their brand voice throughout, make sure I'm nailing that for them, and make overall decisions that feel super aligned and strategic.
Those are all good skills to have. I was thinking when you mentioned Canva, I just branched out this year and tried Canva. Everybody was talking about it, and I really do like it. I'm still getting comfortable with it, but it's a really cool tool. Has a lot of opportunities for businesses to build and modify and make their own content. So we've talked a little bit about the small businesses that are just starting up and then how they evolve into larger companies and the different skills that you need to gain as you're going through that. You mentioned a second ago that people might reach out and collaborate with you. I'm curious, at what stage of a business should an entrepreneur start investing in marketing assistance, like hiring a marketing manager or reaching out to you to help take things off their plate?
Yes, amazing question. And honestly, I think it's one that a lot of business owners really wrestle with. I would say the first step is really to take a good look at your budget and really make sure you have around like $1,000 to $2,000 a month that you could consistently allocate towards marketing support without putting your business at risk. That's the key. It's a good indicator that you're ready to bring in help when you feel like you are, confident in this decision. It shouldn't feel like a stretch every month paying this person. So if it does, it might be worth holding off until you're on more stable footing. I did kind of reflect in preparation for this podcast too on my personal experience and how I've really worked with a lot of clients, especially in my earlier days, who were really eager to outsource, but ended up having to pause services due to like cash flow issues. And while that's completely understandable, life in business can be super unpredictable, especially these times we're living in. It's also really tough on like both parties when things start super strong and then suddenly stop. So I always recommend like being super honest with yourself about where you are financially before making this kind of leap. However, that being said, for kind of more of those established small businesses, like the trades client I work with, outsourcing to a freelancer or a marketing consultant like myself is often much more affordable than hiring an in-house marketing person. So you could be looking at like 15K a year where you don't pay their taxes or any benefits versus 50K a year with health insurance and benefits and everything. So it can be a very strategic move to get that expert knowledge. And that's really all they do and specialize in while not having to have them in-house if you're not really quite ready to grow your team internally. So I would say overall, from my reflection, some of my longest running and most successful client relationships have been with either A, established businesses that have several team members and clear monthly revenue, or B, solo entrepreneurs who have a second stream of income or overall financial stability. So I work with a lot of like state workers who have kind of a passion project on the side. Maybe they have a spouse or a partner who does have more of a stable income. So it's not like they're just launching and they're putting all of their money into this and they're taking out loans. That wouldn't be really the right point to invest. So at the end of the day, I say hiring help should lighten your load, not create more stress and uncertainty. So if you can afford to invest without panicking, and you're also ready to be like collaborative and consistent, I feel like I always, try not to sugarcoat that and make clients think that, oh, it's just everything's going to be off their plate. It is a very collaborative process. And I like to still get their feedback. So monthly strategy meetings and kind of overviewing the content, making sure it's good. If you're ready to be in that spot, that's a great time to bring someone on like me.
I can see where that would be really helpful to just free up a little more time that allows you to invest in the things that you're really good at, or, maybe not hire someone to help you and free up your time so that you can bring in more revenue doing the things that you do well, and then go to an expert who can help you and team up with you. I like the concept of teaming in the sense that it's not just they give it to you and you do it all and it's done, but it sounds like, are more collaborative about it, and they get to build that partnership with you and that friendship with you, which is a really great selling point for a relator like me.
I feel like that's definitely something too that maybe I take for granted and I think that's normal, but maybe not all contractors like me are like that. So maybe that is kind of something that's my normal, but might not be the case for other people. Like maybe other people don't let their clients review the content and they're just like, oh, trust me, I'm going to do it. I really value that collaborative relationship. And like you said, becoming friends with them, I always say I can market your business so much better if I can become your friend. And I have dinner parties with the owner from the trades business, and you wouldn't think like a guy in the trades would want to like hang around, have a dinner party, but it's very fun. And I love that kind of relationship piece of it.
There may be many of the listeners on this podcast that are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or maybe they're in that startup mode, that early phase of it, and they're just not ready to spend the money yet. They'd love to be your friend, but they're not quite ready to spend the money yet. How can entrepreneurs maximize their digital presence without spending too much and not always having dinner at your house?
Yeah, that is fair. I feel like a lot of what we touched on earlier does apply here. So that consistency, the connection, and the creativity go a long way. You don't need a massive budget to show up online in a meaningful way. So start by focusing on those platforms where your audience really spends their time, and post content that speaks to their needs. Think FAQs, behind the scenes, sneak peeks, and helpful tips. I think leveraging some free or low cost tools, like I mentioned earlier, Canva, MailChimp is my personal favorite for email marketing. And then you also want to look into a social media post scheduler, tools like the app called Later, like See You Later. That is my personal favorite. It gives you tons of analytics. It helps you identify how your feed's going to look, like your grid on Instagram before you post. And you don't have to post every single day. You just put it in there, you queue it up for the month, and you're done. I would also say make sure your website is clear, it's always up to date, doesn't have like a bunch of old dates on it, and it's mobile friendly because that's where people are scrolling right now. They're using their mobile device a lot more than desktop. I'm kind of like the millennial outsider who loves my desktop, but I know most people use their phone. And don't forget to engage. Like I said, I'll just drive that point home more. Commenting, sharing, and supporting others builds visibility just as much as posting does, if not more. It's about being present, not perfect.
That's all really helpful. And I like the concept you shared about scheduling. That was something new that I hadn't tried in the past with some of the social media tools that I use. And it's so awesome. I absolutely love that I can write all the content while I'm editing. I can get it out there, like here's my sneak peek, and have it scheduled to go out while I'm still editing so I don't forget or cut everything too close and have this overwhelming amount of tasks on my plate. I can spread it out and send it out when I need to, and maybe even get ahead of it in case I want to go on vacation or something and still have something going out, right? So those are really cool tools and ideas for people to learn more about and help them if they're doing it themselves and not quite ready to go out and get a marketing manager involved. So if you had to give one piece of marketing advice to an entrepreneur that's just starting out of all the great things that you shared, if there was just one thing, the key takeaway for them, what would that be?
I feel like, to kind of piggyback on what you said earlier, of I'm just being myself, or I just kind of present as myself, I feel like that is my number one piece of advice. Be yourself and show up consistently as that authentic version of you. Don't be afraid to let your unique personality shine through your brand, share what makes you different, highlight your strengths, what you're super good at, and speak from your values. That is your secret sauce, to say it again. You don't need to launch with a big, flashy paid campaign. Focus on building trust by showing up authentically and staying true to what matters most to you. That's what really creates sustainable long-term success.
Kathryn, I'm really glad that you joined the podcast. You've shared so many great tips with the listeners and with me, and I hope that they can spend some time learning a little bit more about the things that really resonated with them. And if anyone was interested and wanted to reach out to you regarding marketing, I'm wondering if you want to share the best way for them to do that.
Yes, absolutely. So they can book a free 1-hour consultation at any point by reaching out to me via my website. It's just www.fashionablyfrankmarketing.com. And if they feel like they need some resources but just aren't quite ready to hire out or make that leap yet, I highly encourage them to either follow me on social media by searching Fashionably Frank Marketing. I'm on most platforms. And then they can also subscribe to my monthly newsletter that instantly will unlock a free resource library. There's tons of downloadable worksheets and checklists in there that should help streamline their strategies in the meantime.
Kathryn, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast. I hope you'll come back again soon. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Candria. This was wonderful.